Hey guys, it's Shara from Woodshop Diaries, and in this video we're going to be building this simple modern bookshelf with just a few basic boards and a few basic tools. This shelf only takes a few hours to put together, and most of that time is spent just waiting for the glue to dry. So if you're looking for a good weekend woodworking project, let's dive in and get building. This video was sponsored by Sunfire. I built this shelf entirely from 1x12s. I took apart an older project and was able to reuse some pieces from that, but if you're starting from scratch, you just need one 6-foot and two 8-foot boards. From my local big box store, that adds up to about $40 in lumber. From these boards, I cut 8 pieces to glue up into 4 pairs. This short piece is going to go at the top of the bookshelf, and we'll deal with this later. So you'll notice that the boards that are stained, they're pretty flat. So the boards that are not stained though, they're pretty cupped, which is fine. I just have to be strategic about how I piece this together. So I have to glue these pieces together into basically T shapes. So what I'm gonna do is take the bowed or the cupped boards and I'm gonna put them on the bottom. Then I'll take one of the stained boards and I'll glue it to make the T. So when I clamp this, I'll make sure that the high part is in the middle here so I can clamp the ends to bring them tight and flatten out this board. So it won't really matter that this is bowed now. Once I clamp it together, it's not gonna be bowed, it'll be fine. Before assembling, I sanded my pieces well, then applied Minwax water-based wood stain in aged oak. And since I decided to build this on the coldest week of the year, that was about as far as I got before I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. For years, you guys have been telling me that I needed heat in my shop, but I've been saying that I just can't stand working in here with the doors closed. Enter the Sunfire Radiant Shop Heater. These portable heaters are made right here in the USA and they run on either diesel or kerosene. This is the ideal heater for my workshop because while it can heat an entire workspace, if I wanted to shut the doors, it can also heat people and objects directly with efficient radiant heat. And since it's radiant and doesn't blow air, it's not going to be blowing dust all over the place while I'm working. So I can simply roll it to my work area and enjoy the warmth while still keeping my outside view. And so can Bubs. This heater is quiet, odorless, and it outputs 0 carbon monoxide, so while I do usually work with the doors open, if I needed to shut them, like if it's raining or humid and I'm painting, I can still run it inside with the doors closed, no problem. And if I wanted to, I can even connect it to a wall thermostat for more specific temperature control. Sunfire offers 3 sizes of this particular heater, and I'm running the SF80. You can check out all 3 and learn more in the video description below and at sunfireheaters.com/heaters. Once all my pieces were stained, I started assembling 4 T-shaped pieces using wood glue and dowels. I measured to mark the center of my 1x12s, then used the Craig doweling jig to drill my holes. First, I adjusted my drill depth to just about a 1/2 inch deep so that I wouldn't drill all the way through this 3/4 inch board. I lined up the edge of my jig with my board edge and drilled 2 holes, then I repeated for the other side. Since my dowels are 1.5 inches long, I needed to adjust my drill depth to about 1 inch to drill into the end of my other 1x12 in corresponding locations. Now I could glue and clamp these together to form my first T-shaped piece. I used a speed square to check that it was in fact square before letting it dry. Then I repeated to pair up the rest of my pieces. Now, 3 of these are identical, but one of them will have a short piece. This short piece will go toward the top of the shelf, and
hang tight, this will make more sense in just a minute. After the glue had dried on all 4 pieces, I laid them out on the shop floor just to give me a better visual.
Okay, so I have my T shapes kind of like roughly laid out. For this bottom T, I need to bevel the end of this piece right here at 45 degrees because that way it'll sit flat on the bottom panel when I get to that point, like that. Then I'm gonna just mark where I need to drill my dowel holes so that I don't get confused and accidentally drill them on the wrong side of the board.
At this point, I basically repeated what I had just done to drill holes in the center of some boards and in the ends of others to connect them together to make the shelf. I paid careful attention to the drill depth on each piece, again, drilling deeper holes in the board ends and shallower holes in the board faces. And I also paid careful attention to my marks from earlier just to make sure that I did drill my holes on the right side of each piece. Then I glued and clamped everything together, starting at the bottom and working my way to the top. This was kind of an awkward glue up, not really difficult, but just because nothing really lays flat, it was a bit challenging to kind of clamp everything together. But eventually I got it together, checked that it was square, and then walked away to let it dry. Once this had dried, I came back to attach the bottom and the back to finish this up. I wasn't really sure how long to cut these pieces, so I laid them out on the floor again just to see how I felt about it. This back piece had been the top of a table from a previous project and was already cut to 60 inches long, which seemed pretty good to me. Then I cut the bottom piece to about 24 inches long. And again, before assembling, I sanded and stained both pieces. Then I found the center of the back and bottom piece, aligned these marks, and clamped them together. Up until now, I've used dowels to assemble because I didn't want to see any visible screws. But here, I used wood screws because none of these will be visible in the finished project. I countersunk and drove these screws through the back piece to attach the bottom, then I placed the shelf inside. Because this is kind of an awkward shape, I wasn't sure how to make sure it was centered except simply measuring the shelf overhang on each side. So I made sure it was equal on both sides of the back piece, then I attached the bottom with a few countersunk screws. By the way, this is the Craig Quick Flip that I'm using to countersink the holes, and I'm using pocket hole screws because the washer head helps pull it nice and snug, which is pretty helpful when pulling this cupped board nice and flat. Now I just need to secure everything along the back to finish this up. I made sure everything was centered, again, then clamped and drove a screw through the back into each shelf. And with that, this simple modern geometric shelf is ready to go. Each of these shelf sections can easily hold its own volume in books, so weight really isn't a concern. However, because this is so tall, it's a good idea to secure it to the wall, especially if your floor is unlevel and it tends to rock. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it come together, and if you'd like to build your own, I've got printable plans available in the description below. Stay tuned to the channel for plenty more projects to come soon, but in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, happy building!